Bo Nix, Denver, in Seattle. What'd you see?
Yeah, somewhat similar. The ball wasn't going to get thrown downfield much, and then when they got into the situation where they had to, a couple picks, I thought that there was a lack of efficiency on their offense, not as much play action pass as I thought I would see. And the short stuff he was fine with, but once he had to or was dared to push the ball downfield or try to make some big chunk completions, that's when you saw him get a little loose with it, and Seattle's defense started to hunt.
He only played 6 years of college.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he won the most games of any college quarterback in NCAA history. And D-Wood, they had two safeties and lost this game against a good Seattle team. What'd you see for Nix?
Yeah, listen, that was going to be a tall chore going up to Seattle. Mike McDonald, former Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, that was going to be a tall task for any rookie to be successful in this
I know, but
situation.
you got, Sean Payton over there's an offensive guru, man. I thought he'd have an answer against that Raven-type defense, but really the rookie coach made a statement. He made a statement. Like, they hadn't played for years in Pete Carroll defense the last 5 years, weren't worth a darn. Well, they showed up big time in this game. And I think they got some talent there.
They got talent.
And this young kid's is doing a nice job.
Seattle's going to be good. They're going to be good.
Really.
Okay, well, I want to talk about the Broncos, not Seattle here. So, okay, I'm going to probably do a whole bunch of videos on Bo Nix today. I assume Colin Cowherd is going to talk about Bo Nix, and so I want to react to that as well. So I'm going to try my best to try to do this in a way where I don't just kind of keep repeating myself, but I'll end up doing it because it's just going to be, there's only so much to say about, one game with them. So yeah, listen, I think a lot of people are going to see that and say, oh, haha, Bo Nix didn't look good. Because I've already seen a lot of comments on just older videos that people are like, oh yeah, how did Bo Nix look now? And I think he actually looked really good. You can't just look at the box score, right? Especially when you're talking about evaluating rookie quarterbacks. You have to look and see. What I was always looking for was, how comfortable do these quarterbacks look? And Bo Nix looked incredibly comfortable. He looked more comfortable than quarterbacks who have already been in the NFL for years. He looked more comfortable than, say, Justin Fields, than Caleb Williams, right? So he looked incredibly confident, and I think that goes a long way. I disagree with Sean Payton's game plan, which Orlovsky was pretty much kind of alluding to. Which, again, who am I to disagree with Sean Payton? I think they were asking too much of Bo Nix too soon, right? Having him drop back 42 times, or throw 42 times and drop back more than that, so they were trying to pass even more than that. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask of your rookie quarterback. There wasn't a ton of easy plays for him. But, he looked comfortable. He looked confident. He was way more mobile than I think anyone understands. I think a lot of people saw him as just this, immobile quarterback, all right, kind of like a more statuesque, and yet he was incredibly mobile. And he did so in ways that weren't panic. When he was mobile, it wasn't like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to take off, right? When he ran, it was because that is what the game gave him, right? That is how the play unfolded, and the game came to him in a way that was like, okay, this is the best choice, and he did it. And I think that, again, shows a lot of poise. It's not like he was just in this panic mode and was just like, all right, I just got to rip off for a run here, which we see a lot of, young quarterbacks do, because, again, sometimes you're too shy to throw the ball at this point. You just start to doubt yourself. And so now you just kind of tuck and run. And that's not what he did. It was just the game presented it to himself in a way where he needed to be more mobile. And I think that was honestly very impressive. And I think that's a part of the game that I'm curious to see how it develops for him and how Sean Payton decides to do it. I think it was really a toss-up between him and Jaden Daniels as the best rookie debut, which isn't saying much considering how bad Caleb Williams played. But again, it has to be understood that he played in Seattle, which is one of the loudest, most aggressive home fields, and he's on the road, right? Like, Caleb Williams was at home in front of his home crowd playing against the Tennessee Titans. Like, it was given to him on a silver platter to have an easy day, or just not as hard of a day compared to, say, Bo Nix going up against Seattle, again, with seemingly a great defense. And I just think that Bo Nix did pretty well. Again, of course it could have been better, right? Any start could be better. But here's also the reality, because so many people are so obsessed with stats, and that's why I always try to minimize my use of stats. look at all the other quarterbacks. Virtually every quarterback in the NFL had turnovers and had fumbles and interceptions. So they want to like focus and say, oh, look, see, Bo Nix had 2 interceptions. And it's like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes had an interception, and it should have been 2. Jalen Hurts had multiple turnovers. Lamar Jackson had turnover, right? Like, we can go down the list. Virtually every single quarterback had turnovers. That's just what's going to happen. So why would we expect a rookie quarterback not to have turnovers, right? So it's to be expected. It just is. And that's how you learn. And I think really what happens here is how the Broncos move forward. And yet they were still almost in a position to win this game, which I think is very impressive. Their defense looked a lot better than I think a lot of people would have guessed for the Broncos. And I think when Bo Nix kind of cleans up some of his passing, and I think if the Broncos can get a little bit more of a balanced game plan and kind of establish the run more, that will open up the field for Bo Nix a lot more and will help Bo Nix be able to kind of attack defenses. But when you're dropping back and throwing for 42 times, I just think a defense, especially a defense that's going to be as aggressive at home like the Seahawks, you're going to run into trouble more often than not unless you really have the weapons. And I don't know if the Broncos have those weapons just yet. It's just a lot of names that people aren't super that aren't very well known just yet. And I know Mark Schlereth, kind of kept talking about that this team is for real. It's just a lot of names that people don't know. Well, they have to prove that, right? That you don't just get crowned that automatically. They have to prove that. And I don't think they didn't prove that necessarily, but they didn't do enough for you to feel confident that that is necessarily the reality. But again, at the end of the day, you look at this and you're like 26 for 42, 138 yards, 2 interceptions, 35 rushing yards and a touchdown. That's hardly, a great start. I think it's a lot better than most people realize. I think if you really watch and see how confident of a thrower of the ball that he was and how composed he was and how the moment didn't look too big for him, that's all I was looking for week 1. Seriously, that's all I was. Caleb looked like a deer in headlights. Caleb looked uncomfortable the entire game. And he was at home with the crowd behind him playing, an inferior team. The Tennessee Titans, right? Will Levis, just not that great of a looking team. And they gifted the Bears the win there, right? I mean, that was just given to them. That was not earned by Caleb Williams at all. And, so I really think my takeaway for week 1 when just looking at all the rookie quarterbacks is that Bo Nix is going to get settled. It might take a minute or two for the Broncos to kind of surround him with the team that he needs with some weapons, develop a run game. But I just think that if you're a Broncos fan and you saw that start, you should actually feel pretty good. You should, and I really do believe that. I think it was not as bad as maybe a lot of people feel it was, and that's why I'm really curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Week 1. High expectations for Bo Nix. What do you guys all think, especially the Broncos fans? What did your eyes tell you watching this game? Or do you feel more optimistic, more pessimistic after that game? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.